welcome to Chai Chat with Lavina. When I first picked up the violin, I was happy. I'm still happy to pick up the violin. This is what Mr. L. Subhramanium, legend. I don't know how to describe really, Mr. L. Subhramanium. He said it, and I just really got stuck with that line, and I am here also privileged to have his son, Ambi Subhramaniam. Thank you. I just grabbed the opportunity when I thought ki nahi bhai chai chat mein to ye hona chahiye. Huh? We have to have tea with you.
Pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us for this chat. And they've been really patient with all my demands and requests. Sir, what an amazing thing to be, to say you're happy to pick up the violin then and you're happy to pick up the violin now. But are you happy to see the way classical music is in our country at this point in time, or do you feel worried at all?
Compared to where it was, particularly in relation to violin and Indian classical music, where we are is remarkable. It's a very, very great positive thing.
That's really nice to hear.
Which is true, because when we started, particularly I'm talking about Indian violin, Carnatic violin, and in general Indian music, there was a time when it was also treated like ethnic music, folk music. They didn't give the status of a classical music for our music. Western classical music was considered classical music, Occidental music. Everything else was put under one roof, world music, which could be folk, ethnic, ghazal, spiritual thing, bhajans, or anything. But it has changed, because the concept of a global music concept, which I started working in 70s, where it will include not only our classical music, because we have very two strong classical system, the oldest Carnatic music, and the later, because of the Persian influence, the second development of Hindustani music, the Western classical, other traditions in other parts of the world. Everything should be under one umbrella, not like one classical, everything is non-classical. So considering that lot of ignorance at that time, now I'm very, very happy to say some of the major festivals have been able to bring Indian violin and perform, whether it is Royal Albert Hall or Lincoln Center or Millennium Park in Chicago, which never happened those days. So there are a lot of progress, a lot of things.
I mean, I know Ambi is a great example of young blood being drawn into classical. Yes, in the Western world, we see the value given to classical. Do you think you can say the same thing about India proudly today?
It all depends on the artist and their children. We cannot blame the nation for something. In the West, culture and art is given importance. In our own country also, depends on the family. They give very important to the art. My father, who was responsible for making Indian violin a solo instrument, before that it was an accompanying instrument. When it was introduced during the modern version of Indian violin, when it was introduced, it was basically an accompanying instrument. So at that time, it was very, very difficult to survive with music, even today. But for him to make a decision, I'll develop everything and develop a solo style of music and teach my children, and I hope they become musicians. It was a very, very open-mindedness at that time, because generally every parent wants their child to be a doctor, engineer, or some other profession, and music is the very last in the bottom. That is because of the parents. My father was the contrary, even though I went to medical school.
Oh, really? You did?
Yeah, I'm a medical doctor. I registered as a medical doctor. When I said I want to switch over to music, he was the happiest person. My mother also said, once you finish medicine, then you can't drop out in the second year. The second year I want to drop out. They said, you finish it and then continue. For a musician who has struggled and worked all his life to make Indian violin, Carnatic music, an important part of music in the world, for him to say, okay, drop medicine and go there, don't practice, it is a very, very courageous move. Even though many of his companions and friends and colleagues, they said, it's a stupid thing, your son is going to trying to become a composer, you will never hear his piece. Most of the time composers' compositions are heard after they are dead and gone. He's a doctor, he can make a lot of money, he can all be happy. That kind of things was being told to my parents. But thanks to them, they never thought about money or
They
anything.
stuck to it.
They stuck to it. Like that, if parents want their own children to become a great musicians family, if they push their children, that is important. It is not the country's fault.
Yes.
Because we make the decision and we also create the interest in the children so that they are not forced into it, but they also start liking it, passionate about it, so they dream about taking it further and further. So I think there are families like that.
And I think exposure is the key, especially at a young age.
Yes.
It's important that kids are exposed to good music, and I think after that they make their own choices. But a lot of the times, the perception is that they may not understand classical music unless they're 8 or 9 or 10. But by that time, you've lost already so many years.
Really? When did you start, Ambi?
I started when I was 3, and
3. What did he do at 3? What would he come and strum the instrument and you were not worried that he'll break it or do something?
so they have these like smaller violins, these mini violins.
Really?
So
You started on that.
essentially,
But did you pick up a violin or did you pick up any other instrument or?
so I mean, I learned singing as well, but of course, my sister, my brother, we all started with the violin, and I think at that age you kind of do it because you're playing, so it's just like another fun toy, and then maybe you get a little better because you play more and more and you try to imitate your dad, and then slowly you develop a love for it.
No, but that's what I wanted to ask you. So he became a doctor and then became a violinist. Huh? He was drawn into it. Well, did you also have any other thing, or you always wanted to be a violinist, or you also could have been some other sort of musician, but you followed suit because you had an example?
That's a very interesting question, actually, because I mean, to be honest, I don't really have much of an answer because I was given that exposure into the violin, and I really enjoyed it, so I kind of took it up, and then I decided to become a violinist. Of course, I mean, my dad always made sure that we had good education, so I did an MBA in finance, and
See, you could have won so much in investment, Ambi.
Both him and
This is go on. Sorry.
him and his sister, she's a lawyer, but both of them are doing their PhD in music, final year. So they finished their
MPhil.
MPhil. They're doing their PhD in
So
music.
you are doing a PhD in finance.
in music.
In music. Sorry. Oh my God.
And his sister Bindu also. They have a group. They perform together,
Acha.
which is so. In a nutshell, Kavita is. I mean, of course, everybody knows Kavita because of Bollywood and her contribution there. And all the children, we are all some way all into music, except my other son, who sings very well, but he is a surgeon, Narayana.
So he did finally do something with your degree after getting his own.
Yes.
So we kind of
True,
joked that I took the music side, he took the medicine.
And you're still managing to do a PhD. This is a musical Suravali family who are going the other way around. People are saying ki, I've done this interview before and they said, music to theek hai, kaam kya karte ho? But so you had a calm and you turned around. You did and you can. Oh, that's fantastic. I always want, and I'm going to go to I want to ask about your dad and your band. Huh? But before that, when you have such a musical family, even though your son is a surgeon, he sings, what is the interaction happening in the house? Is it normal or is it very melodious all the time? Ladaiyan bhi suron mein ho rahi hain.
What is happening right now is we are so backed up with a lot of major projects. So we're just trying to catch up with time, either, performing Everybody is in different direction. Kavita couldn't come to London because she got another honorary doctorate in Delhi. She's performing, and I am performing. Both of them are performing, Bindu and Ambi, separately, and he also plays some solos separately. So it's all, whenever we there, everything is connected with somehow connected loosely with music.
So you're talking music on the dinner table. Which performance are you doing? What performance? Are you criticizing each other as well?
Not criticizing, what
Constructively.
sometimes constructively I analyze some of the concerts when I go and attend to their concert, very rarely, and all recordings. So we try to, because since you are been in this field for such a long time,
Yes.
and they have been exposed to some of the greatest legends from early onwards. And I remember he was a little baby when I had carried him, when I met Menuhin in Paris with my entire family was there. He was trying to pull the hat of Menuhin without knowing. He's saying, Ambi, keep quiet. So he's trying to pull the hat of Menuhin. So like that, they met, I mean, all some of the greatest artists.
Yeah.
Al Giro, George Duke, Stanley Clarke on the jazz side, classical side. So at that time they didn't realize who they were. But the thing is, all those things have given a positive direction, seeing different people doing different things.
Yes.
So that's an inspiration, and also we discuss about different project. Next time I have a festival called Lakshmi Narayana Global Music Festival, which this is the 25th year. We have done it all over the world, and it started as a small thing as a tribute to my father in Chennai. And it started with M. Subbalakshmi, Bismillah Khan Sahab and all those things. And subsequently we have had artists like Pandit Jasraj and Bismillah Ji, and you can name it, you know, all the greatest artists, Krishna Maharaj Ji. And so this festival, what we do, we bring a lot of great artists. They get to see, interact. So we talk about next festival, what can we do differently? Because it's a global music festival. We bring in artists who otherwise India will not get a chance to watch. And that is one part of it. They all come and perform their own thing, their own territory. I do something. At the end, I specially write a new piece every year, where there's a collaborative thing happening, where everybody blend and create. We try to push the boundary of everybody. So sometimes we discuss about it, okay, this festival, whom we can. So he will suggest somebody, Bindu will suggest somebody. Finally, we come to a point, and Kavita she's the director of the festival. Finally, we see which is more practical and feasible and all those things. So many times we talk about festival, sometimes we discuss about his PhD, her PhD, and sometime about, you know, where we can next project, how far we are backed up, so how to catch up.
Yes.
So it's many times, for me it is, that's what it is. For them it might be different.
So tell me about your band, and then we'll go back, and because I want to talk about, for the people, you have had the privilege to have your dad around, and you have had the privilege of having your father around actually, but not many people do. And a lot of the families are not able to get their children into music because of the fear of paise milenge ki nahi. Is it sustainable or not? Do you think classical music is sustainable in India?
I know so, because
You are, but you are a legend. But someone who's starting, where do they start?
many times I see many of my doctor friends.
Huh.
So sometime in Lincoln Center, anywhere, some of the doctors who are very well off and everything, doing very well, they are not, sometimes the security guys don't allow them inside. They say, I'm so and so, so and so. I'm a cardiologist, I'm a neurosurgeon. They say, but you can't get in. So they all wait there. And ultimately, when I meet them, they say, oh, you are in the better profession. So, with all the glory and visibility and whatever. But having said that, you know, everything, it takes time. You have to work very hard to create a track record. You don't get anything overnight, anything. My father's vision was to make the violin and Carnatic music most powerful instrument. So which he created the techniques, I worked on it, and he guided me. So after years, we have brought it to this level.
Ambi, how are you looking at your profession, not profession, but your passion? I think profession is your passion has become your profession. And how do you become Ambi Subhramanium of your own? How are you trying to do it with your band?
Well, I mean, firstly, we have a band called Subhramania, which I have with my.
That's like it. Subhramania. Yes.
Yes.
That's great.
So there we do contemporary world music. So the idea is to use Indian music as a base and kind of go through different genres. So we have like one song that is kind of where we use flamenco, Spanish influences, and then there are a couple of songs where we use gypsy influences.
Wow.
And my sister actually went to Berkeley and she studied songwriting there. So she writes her own lyrics, and so we use that influence as well. But the idea is to kind of, as you say, see what else is out there, while kind of having our Indian music stamp. So I think that's a lot of fun because there's so much you can do, and you can really experiment as much as you can.
We're going to carry on our conversation in the next segment. And I'm finally going to tell you why he's here. He's collaborating with London Symphony and creating this beautiful music for us all the more. And Ambi is there as well. So we're going to talk about that, his other projects, and also the allure of Bollywood or Hindi music, if you like. Thank you. Stay tuned on Jai Chat.